We can start now.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got a good amount of people. Okay. Welcome to all of you to our second Tea O'Clock Zoom. Our first was last week. And this is an exciting new initiative that we decided to do because we're in, as many of you will know, I know that we have an international audience, but in London and in Holland, we're in lockdown again. So my name is Cynthia van Corbett, and I'm the founder and director of the Cynthia Corbett Gallery in London. And I'm coming to you today from Wimbledon, which is where I live, and it's also where we have our home gallery. Normally, we're all over the world. We're showing at art fairs and different exhibition spaces. But at the moment, I'm very fortunate that I have a lovely space to show art, including Isabelle's wonderful art. I started my gallery in 2004, and I launched the Young Masters Art Prize in 2009. And very fortunately, I met Isabelle in 2015. Actually, we think I met Isabelle exactly 6 years ago this week, where I was exhibiting at the London Art Fair. And Isabelle, because, well, you'll see when you hear her speaking, she's very resourceful and she's very dynamic. And she approached me on my stand and said, I think we should work together, and I think you might like my work. And literally, she showed me her work, and we began working together. And it was that piece that's behind her. I think I exhibited Isabelle maybe 2 months later at an art fair, and on the first night sold pretty much everything we were exhibiting. So it was a very start of a lovely relationship. And then I'm just going to brag a little bit, Isabelle. And then I began to take Isabelle's work and put her work into our program all over the world, from places like Texas to California, Miami, Brussels,
Hong Kong,
well, of course, London, Hong Kong, all really so many places, and of course London as well. And the reaction and the audience reaction has always been fantastic, and clients of her work. And we've had a really amazing journey over the 6 years. And then Isabelle applied to the Young Masters Art Prize in 2017. I'm holding up the catalog, and this is a not-for-profit initiative of the gallery. It's an independently judged prize every 2 to 3 years. And Isabelle, not surprisingly, was chosen unanimously by the judges, and her work won an award as an emerging woman artist. And then we had a fantastic solo show for Deborah, my sister, for Isabelle in 2019 in Mayfair. And at that time, Isabelle received the cover of Harper's Bazaar. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Isabelle, and maybe you could say a few words about you, and then we can start talking about your amazing work.
Yeah, great. So thank you all for joining this fantastic Zoom. I'm really excited because one of the most joyful things I can do is to meet you, and that's also a big part of our relationship, Cynthia, that we are at art fair meeting our supporters, art lovers and collectors, and really interact and talk to them. So I'm really happy with this kind of Zoom session. So I'm not sure if we can also start the presentation. Yeah, So here we see my work, one of my first works, she's also behind me. And I would like to take you back into the roots of how I started as an artist. And I will bring you back to my childhood, because when I grew up, I was exposed to a lot of violence and aggression and belittling. So to survive those troubled times, I one day decided to start making self-portraits to maintain the connection with who I truly was. And I also start to look towards everything that was beautiful. So beauty became my nutrition and my purifier, but also my mask. And we can maybe show then also domain in the next series.
Very good.
We have domain here.
Yes.
So this work in the middle is a super powerful work, but it's also, there's a lot of beauty, but there's also this mask she's wearing. And when we go back in the presentation, then we see these works. Yes, these works.
Youth and you.
Youth and you and I. And I always strive to work with authentic elements. So for example, the girls both are wearing antique dresses. The image on the left is a dress from the formal National Opera and Ballet here in the Netherlands. And the dress the girl is wearing in the right image, you and I, is a former dress of the ballet of the Swan Lake. So, and in the end, it becomes a contemporary piece of art. And then when we go to supermodel in the presentation, this one, then in this work, you can really see the influences. When I was a little girl, in my childhood home, there were a lot of books on art, on Renaissance art, on the old masters. And next to those books, there were fashion magazines and really established fashion magazines. And I was looking at the models, the supermodels on the cover. And to me, they breathed some kind of freedom. They were free, they were superheroes. So as a little girl, I thought, okay, this is what I need to become, like a supermodel, to be free from this oppressive childhood. So I worked further as an artist, and like what Cynthia mentioned in during my solo show in 2019, this work was on the cover of the fashion magazine. And then you can, when I think back, I was a girl from 6 years old. So never underestimate your visualizations or your desires or believing in it.
Can I interject and ask a question here? Because I think this is really interesting with supermodel, for instance. When you look at this, now I don't know if all our viewers and all our audience realizes, every time that Isabelle does one of her pieces, she is the subject. So yes. She is the model, she is the subject, she is the object, she is the producer, she is the photographer, she is the fabricator, she is finishing it, everything. But this work, yeah, it really tells a lot about you, because you know, yes. It's like the collar. You think about the collar, that's unmistakably.
Yes, I wanted to explain about this work, that you can particularly see in this work all the influences from when I was a little girl till now, because you can still see snippets from old masters like Vermeer and Frans Hals, but also the big hair. And hair was a very important aspect of beauty. And in the fashion in the 80s, the supermodels were wearing those big hairs, but also in the old master portraits, hair was a very important element. And again, I'm wearing antique costumes. But that's right, Cynthia. Yes, I'm a one-man show.
Well, one woman show.
And that's also why it's so different from other photography, I think, because a lot of photographers work with a team. But in order to stay authentic and to stay connected with my creativity, I do everything myself.
And what I was going to ask you, Isabelle, if we could move on a little bit, because to the fashion world.
Yes.
Again, talking about fashion and how much it influenced your work, and from a historical basis and as
Exactly.
youth.
Yes.
But then look at what you've been doing with your work.
Yes.
And who you've been working with.
Exactly. Fashion is also a very important element. And as you could see in my earlier works, I worked with antique fashion, like Flemish lace collars and the ballet dresses. And then later on, I reached out to the most important fashion designers of the Netherlands, like Iris van Herpen, Claes Iversen, which we see a dress from Claes Iversen here. And I'm so fascinated by their designs because they're, of course, rooted in the Netherlands, but they also work in a similar way. They like to work with forgotten traditions, and their aesthetics are really high evolved. So I literally took that dress home. I borrowed like a letter from my neighbors. And I'm on this picture on the right, I'm sitting underneath the dress to make a test shot. And this is like a glimpse of how I work. There in this shot, I can already see the final result. I see how the aesthetics work of the dress. And in this triptych, you still see the link to the past, and this dress could now have been from the Renaissance, but it's from now. So that's really about, it becomes like otherworldly, in between painting, in between photography.
And there, and the viewers, our audience, you can see two of the works from this series are behind me, and the one on the left is I love, the one on the, actually behind me, the one on the right is I love her, and the one on the left is I love her too. These are just fantastic. And I think we debuted these
at London Art Fair.
At London Art Fair, yes.
2019.
It's in 2019, yeah, 2019. And then you also, then this was the start of a very lovely relationship, wasn't it? With
Claes, yes.
Yeah. So maybe you want to talk a little bit also about how, because this will lead into with the flowers and how you collaborate and work with other creative artists.
I think we go to the next slide where we see another piece which I made, yes, with a dress from Claes Iversen, and the photo on the left is during the solo show where I'm actually wearing the dress. But this dress, I felt, I always choose my elements intuitively, and I felt intuitively attracted to this dress. So again, I took it home, but I like to reinvent and reshape in order to make new forms. And I think there, when you push it into the reshaping process, then the magic comes in, and then you're really creating. So this piece is called I Am, and I like it that my works now they have meaning, but also when I talk with my collectors and what their feedback on my work is that it reminds them every day to live their highest possible potential. And for example, this work is called I Am because when you see this degradé process and this effect from the lightest to the darkest color, it symbolizes that we need to accept that from ourselves, not only from ourselves, but that's where it starts, but also from other people. And when we really embrace all that we are, the darkest parts and the lightest and everything in between, we can really say, I am. And also, when you have this work in your home, I believe it has this special power to uplift you and to invite you to finish that sentence. For example, I am
strong,
radiant, or I am
woman,
I am loving,
yeah.
and finish it for what you need that day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an important thing I learned from my collectors, that was the effect of my work, and that's the most fulfilling.
And when Klaus because that was so interesting how he lent you that dress.
Yeah.
And you so you became, in a way, you became his muse in a you know, but not his fashion muse, his artist muse. But
I think yes, I think that's a fruitful collaboration that that you can lift each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also how I worked with the florist when we go
yes
into
but
other work.
Can I just ask one other, because I'm here and I have you, the interesting thing, particularly with this body of work, there started to be the hint of the flowers.
Yes, the flowers. Yes.
And that life and the flora and the fauna.
Yes.
And then then it leads into the flowers, and then you can let's help us along that journey, and the journey with finding the flowers.
Exactly. So one day I was looking for a flower, but I wanted to make a work first. Before I was looking for a flower, I wanted to make a work with butterflies, like a big headpiece with butterflies upon my head, because I just went through a difficult period in my life. And when I came out, I was so inspired to work with butterflies, again, intuitively. But then I couldn't work with the butterflies because they were dead and you couldn't fold them. So then I started to look to a flower. And I went into this flower shop of the Dutch florist Paul Wijkmeijer. And I was so much drawn into the orchid. And then he told me, do you know that the orchid is the entrance of women? And then I knew, okay, I have to work with this flower. And then he said, but Isabelle, your ideas are impossible. The orchid is the most delicate, fragile flower in the world. You cannot do that. And then I said to him, listen, I do everything on my own. Like what Cynthia told, I'm my own photographer and my whole team. So I think this I can do too. And it's also, I always strive to put the bar higher and go beyond the possibilities, because there you find the new creations. But then I joked to him and I said, or do you want to help me? But then I challenged him, because at the same time he was also looking for a challenge, for a creative challenge. So he was scared because he was this professional florist and he knew how big the challenge was to work with these orchids. But then 2 days later, he brought in 500 orchids, wide, big orchids, into my studio. And we started to work together. And he worked as this florist, but I started to bend the flowers and do unusual things. And then together we created those enormous headpieces. And then
which is just astounding. Yeah.
I looked up the symbolic meaning of the orchid, and I found a very interesting story of a Dutch botanist. And he went to Java in 1825 to
Java.
look for a new genus, to look for a new flower. and he thought he saw butterflies amongst a tree. And he came closer, and then he discovered this particular Phalaenopsis. And last week, one of our collectors was telling me, Isabelle, do you realize that your roots are partly also in Java? How everything is energy. So I think
it's incredible. And
yes.
And maybe go to the next. Can we go to the next slide? Look at this, and look, and these. So the. Can you just, and then just tell a little bit of also about the different species and colors and what, because every time you do a series, every time you do a work, each one is so different. And I just wanted to ask you one other thing about your work, please, to tell our audience, because I think they'll be very interested. Many times in your work, not always, but many times you have crackled.
Yes.
The woman's skin, your skin, but the woman's skin.
Yes.
And also I'd love to hear your thoughts about the importance of that and why you did that.
So the cracks on the skin, that's really something I start working on with during my very first works. And I bring that in every time, because for me, that's it makes the work really timeless, and it still keeps the link and the connection with the old masters.
Very much, yes. And it has to be specially fabricated that way. Could we move on to show the white orchids as well? Look at that. Look at the color there. I mean, and just the contrast between, and, you know, for me, I always love, you know, what the old masters say, you know, like if you can paint white or you can paint black, you're a master, you know. And look what you've done with the contrasting of those colors. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think you don't want to give away secrets. Colors are super important in our lives. For example, white, I think it's the origin of all colors, and it's like the purest color of the spectrum. So in that case, when people look at those white orchids, it purifies them. It's not only the aesthetics and the beauty of it, but it's also, it just works energetically purifying.
Mm-hmm. And can I ask you a question before, because I can't believe we've already been talking for nearly a half an hour. This is just incredible. Can I ask you to talk a little bit, Isabelle, about you as an artist and the impact of lockdown on yourself and on your work? And
yes,
and it would be nice. I think the audience would really like to hear a bit about how you are coping and how you are, you know, how you are creating.
Yes, exactly. I would love to show a work behind me as well. Shall I change quickly?
Oh, yes. Okay. So while you're changing, I will speak a little bit. Okay. And say hello to various people. What we're going to do, for those of you who might have come in after the introduction, Isabelle's going to talk a little bit about her time in you know, her creative time in lockdown, and then we're going to throw it open to questions. And if people would like to put their questions in the chat room now, we will ask the question in the order that that they're in. So this is a wonderful opportunity, you know, to ask a direct question to, I'm assuming, to Isabelle. You can ask me a question as well, but I think the more interesting party here is the artist. And I don't know, but I think we have people on this call from all over the world.
I'm back.
Okay. Where are you? Sorry.
I'm back again.
We don't see you. Does everyone see? Does everyone see Isabelle?
I can see myself. Can you hear me?
Oh, you need to put, is Isabelle, can everyone see Isabelle? No.
Yes, we can.
Oh, you can.
Great.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, I just couldn't see her. Okay. Yes.
So yes, I would love to tell about I made so much new work during COVID. Before COVID, I traveled a lot. I traveled to the art fairs. I traveled to Colorado to make new series. But with COVID, I had to stay home. And actually, I am a firm believer that in every crisis you can find beauty, but you have to look for it. And it's not, you have to ask yourself, how can I use my resources to make a breakthrough so that it is sustainable? So on the day of the lockdown here in the Netherlands, I went to one of my beloved growers, this orchid nursery guy. And I went there, and he and his whole team were literally crying because they had to throw away 80% of their orchids, perfectly grown orchids, containers full. And it was all over the news in the whole world, from China till New York Times. All the newspapers were writing about the Dutch are destroying their flowers, and flowers are our third export project. It's huge, and also when you look back in the times of the old masters, a flower was really like a status symbol. So I took as much orchids as I could carry. I took the orchids from the containers into my home, and I started to make new series. And those series really symbolize rebirth and renewal and transformation. And they remind us that this crisis doesn't need to be traumatic, but rather liberating. And it's also what this orchid symbolizes, because they're so close to butterflies. And when a butterfly is in a cocoon, it doesn't think about how will I get out? How will it be in a week or in a month? No, it just stays there. It transforms, and when it comes out, it spreads their wings and it goes. So nature teaches a lot of lessons. And when we try to live according to nature, I think we can find a lot of calm there.
Oh, it's really, yeah, it's so amazing what you have achieved, because like so many of your colleagues in the art world, I think many of us need, we really need to take lessons from artists, because you as a species, artists are solitary and many times have to isolate, because you have to create and you have to think about things. And but to be, it's really wonderful, the amount of creativity that we have seen in the last few months. And obviously there is despair, and it is difficult, but the more I think we can offer positivity like you have done, and you have been consistent in terms of
very much.
And so resourceful. I mean, doing that, what you did with those flowers, is just incredible.
It's a message of sustainability, but also when I grew up, I couldn't resist, or I couldn't stand the news, because I believe that the news has like a huge also negative impact on our general happiness. And on the moment that it was all over the news that the growers had to destroy their flowers, I felt personally cold, that I had to do something to switch that. So therefore it felt like a victory that Forbes, this international magazine, then featured my whole series. And it healed the message, like the Dutch are not only destroying their flowers, they make beauty out of it.
No, I think it's really, really great. And Maybe you could talk. I mean, I think we could open up to questions now.
Yes.
I think that would be. Oh, well, I see a new piece behind you, Isabelle.
Sorry?
So I see another piece behind you.
Yes,
That's
this
the
is my latest piece with the Phalaenopsis orchid from the containers.
Yes, the ones that they had to get rid of.
I made during COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what do you think? I'll start off asking a question. What do you think you're going to be working on next? What sort of inspiration? What can we look forward to seeing?
So next? I'm now I'm working on a new series, but I'm much more inspired. I'm still so much inspired by nature, but then the nature we find also outside. So I'm planning when the borders are reopening a trip again to Colorado and to the national parks of America. I'm looking for wildness and like mountains and rocks and rivers, and I want to portray myself in relationship to nature. So that's what I'm working on, but I still have to be patient to go there.
To be allowed to travel again. And do we have any questions in the chat room? Please type your questions in the chat.
How do you manage the scale of the orchids? From Michael. The scale, so it's exactly the same size. So do I understand that right?
Well, the scale, like the size, like how do you manage?
I don't manipulate. Sorry.
Like if the scale, like how you change or not.
No, I don't change. So everything you see in these works is not manipulated when it comes to scale. It is exactly the same size, but those orchids they are huge. So in every work where you see the orchids, I'm not scaling the orchids. I build the headpiece, and the orchids are not manipulated.
And how do you manage, I guess, to keep them not falling all over the place? Do you use little string, or is that a secret?
Yeah. I use wire, and we tie them. And yeah, we are working on this headpiece for maybe 12 hours in a row, and then we have to work quick because they die, and and I like to photograph them when they're in bloom, when they're like.
And Michael's asking, so you use huge orchids? I think the answer is yes.
Yes. I use those, exactly those.
That's so great that you have them there. Wow. Yeah, it's so beautiful.
They gave them to me again.
And there's such a time limit, isn't there, Isabelle? You've got to rush because
work. But that's also with creativity. You don't have time to think. You have to follow your feeling.
And then we have a question from Preston, who says, your work reminds me of Cindy Sherman, an artist who puts herself into photography. How has she influenced your practice, or has she influenced you?
She has not influenced my practice, because I think her vision is completely different from me. I know her work, and I think it's amazing, but I'm so much fascinated by beauty, and I think her work is more realistic, or I don't know how to explain, but Cindy is not really a source of inspiration. It's funny.
Do you think it's subject matter a bit?
Yeah.
And she really is trying to be other people? Exactly.
That's not what I'm doing.
Okay. But you do always use yourself.
I do, but yes, I do use myself, but I think that's also born out of so when I was young, my teacher in high school, he told me, Isabelle, he knew about my childhood and he knew about the troubled situation. And then he suggested you should make self-portraits, because self-portraiture is a mirror for your inner state of being. And that's why I started to make self-portraits. And then it became my safe place. I don't, different from Cindy Sherman, I don't want to be someone else. I really want to stay connected with who I was. It was like it worked like an armor against violence, against diseases, against everything. And now, like 18 years later, that our collectors respond to me. It's now the third collector I heard telling me, Isabelle, I'm going through this horrific disease, cancer, and I'm healing, but I need beauty to heal me, so I want your work. And then it makes the whole circle round. It was why I started to make those work, and now it has a healing power.
It's so beautiful, but so deep. Now we have a question from Diana, who's asking, do you do anything special to keep the orchids alive? How soon after you complete the headpieces do you begin the photographic process? Well, that's a really interesting
Immediately. I'm working. So there's also a video on my, and also I think also on your website,
yeah.
You can see how I work. I am literally sitting on my knees with the headpiece on my head. And every time when we move one orchid, I take a photograph, and it's really like that. Everything you move, it gives a different image. So we are looking for the image, and then we are building and photographing at the same time.
Right. So it's in a way it's like a movie, creating a movie, but doing it photographically. Yeah. So yeah,
you can compare that,
because there's a bit of pressure there.
There is pressure. Yeah, it's live acting.
Yeah, live acting. Yes, and maybe I can ask another question. Is there another question anybody else asking a question? I can't see any more questions. Oh yes. You can read it.
That you'll ever switch things up and not be the subject yourself, or like most of us artists don't really know yet. Exactly. I don't know. I don't really know yet.
Well, but you can say a little tiny bit about your sons that you used.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I portrayed my sons. Yeah. Yes, that's true. I start to portray my two sons because I really want to capture that moment that they were still young. Because I think that's one of our concerns as parents, that they grow up and you'll never see them again while they're so young. So, and then of course it's also a big theme in the old master painters, like child portraiture. So we also did a lot of children commissions.
Yeah. Yes, so that was really because people saw your portraiture of your children as old master young people, and then we were approached by several people, and those were quite exciting, interesting projects. Yes.
It's interesting because I believe that one of the most important messages you can teach your children is, as a parent, I see you, I love you. And that's what you do with these kind of portraits, because those children, they start blooming in front of my camera, and I portray them at their most beautiful,
innocent.
Yeah. And then they will remember that for the rest of their lives. And then when the parents bring in the portrait in their homes every day, those children see, hey, I am beautiful, or my parents love me. Otherwise, yeah.
Before they become self-conscious and like as a teenager. So they're pre-teenager. Yeah. And then maybe just a little tiny bit. Oh yeah. Okay.
How much time do you spend on post-production? Oh yes.
From the time you take the picture. Yeah, that's a really good question.
Sometimes I explain that it's similar to old master painters, because I retouch every pixel when I make it so painterly. It's really like that. It can be days or months.
And is it similar? Is it is it determined by the particular series, or is it?
No,
you just don't know.
No, it's in every series. It's in every series. It's a long time of post-production, and that's why my work becomes so painterly. Yes. I have to paint the cracks, and I change color schemes and skin and everything. It's really, when I have the photograph, then to me it's like almost like a blank canvas.
Interesting. And do you want to talk of because you also there's the theme of using the animals was what when you went to Colorado, it wasn't just you, it was also you and horses. And how did that come about, Isabelle? And you said you want to go back to Colorado. Is that also to work with animals again, or
yes? Horses are a huge source of inspiration for me, but I will show one more.
It's really, really interesting what Isabelle did with that. Yeah,
I'm not sure if you can see this because my screen is, but this is the horse series. So 2 years before I start photographing myself with horses, I did horse therapy. So to overcome those childhood traumas, and horses are highly sensitive animals. They mirror every emotion or your behavior, everything. So I had to learn and to surrender to that horsepower and that horse energy in order to make a connection. So after 2 years, I went to Colorado, and then I went to my friend and also collector of the gallery, and I asked her, do you think there are wild horses here we can see? So she invited me together with this cowboy on a trip in the Rocky Mountains, and I only had like 10 basic horse riding lessons, but I took my camera and we went into the mountains, and after a 6-hour ride, we finally saw them, like the wild Mustangs. And I asked this cowboy, how close do you think I can get? But he warned me. He said, Isabelle, they're wild. They're not used to human. Be careful. But I took my camera and I started photographing them. And in the end, I could get like only 1 meter, like 40 inches away from them. And I went back to them, to the cowboy and my friend. And he was like, how did you do that? And that was the moment that I thought, okay, so there must be some kind of connection. And I was from that time so much fascinated by the relationship of human and horses, because they really teach us important lessons about letting go of the control we think we have. We don't have any control. Because I went there again to Colorado, I had to take with me a new camera. I didn't even know how the camera worked, because I wanted that camera to have more sharpness in the pictures, because I needed that. I wanted the result that you could like touch the horse almost and see every hair. So I didn't know anything about my camera. I only had room in my luggage for one light. There was a person who was doing my makeup flying in from New York. I've never seen her. Every night we went into her barn with this huge black, intimidating, powerful stallion, and I was naked on this concrete floor underneath the moonlight, because we couldn't work during daytimes. They have like this busy ranch. And there it happened. I just thought, okay, I have to surrender. I don't have any control like I have in my home studio. I had zero. But then I did everything with my energy and with feeling, and I had to trust. I had to trust everything, and I think there starts when you learn to trust, and when you learn to surrender. Then you can get so much more you cannot even think of. And now collectors who purchase those works are often like people with highly responsible jobs and
very pressured.
They hang it behind their office because they need that power of like being a natural leader. Because there's one work that I'm carrying this head of this horse, but when you push like a little bit too hard on his horse's nose, then the horse is away. So it's the same with negotiating or working with people, or it's like
so fantastic.
Natural connectivity.
Right. Well, I think we have time for a couple more, maybe one more question. Does anyone else have a question?
Horse whisperer, yes, it's a horse whisperer.
And we'd be delighted to, if any of you would like, more detailed information or find out about availability of the art, you can email us. You can consult the websites. We're both very active on social media, and for the time being, we will be doing a lot, obviously online. We were planning to go do many different exhibitions, and hopefully there's a chance that if things open up here in London in the late spring, summer, I have a plan I will be in residency in a lovely hotel in South Kensington, and some of Isabelle's work will be there. And then, we hope we're going to be able to see things in person, but we're delighted, if someone wanted to do a private Zoom or any more information, we'd be just thrilled to, to see you and talk to you. And thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope it was an interesting time. And thank you, Isabelle, for sharing all your amazing life and work.
Thank you to all of you who joined this Zoom. It means the world to me.
Oh, thank you so much.
We missed you soon in person.
Oh, yes, we really miss you all, and hopefully see you soon. Oh, everyone's saying thank you, and well, thank you. I think people really, really loved it. Inspiring work. Lauren was on. Oh, I didn't realize Lauren was on. Oh, great.
So
Fabulous. Fabulous. Oh.
I see also someone from Holland.
Oh,
Pauline.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Jonathan. Hi, Jonathan. Maybe I can see.
Hello.
Hi. Oh, I can see, because I couldn't see people before. Geraldine. Hi, Geraldine. Jonathan. Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Hi. Great. Hello, Jessica.
Hey, from New
Thank
York.
you for that.
Who is this?
Gina, Paulina.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So this looks good. I couldn't really see everyone before. And
No.
Helen.
We have two Dutch people here.
Oh,
Jessica
wonderful.
and Pauline.
Oh, great. And I hope, did everyone thumbs up? Did you enjoy that? Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Oh, thumbs up, thumbs up. I haven't seen it. A thumbs down. Great. Well, thank you all. And we're going to have more Zooms, more tea o'clock. Maybe I should have said about the tea o'clock, but there's still some people here, so I can tell you I stole the term tea o'clock from my husband, who stole it from John Betjeman, the famous poet. So we're going to, and I think, I can see someone drinking tea over there. So drinking tea, unless they're having tequila in their teacup. Oh. So hope to see you all again soon. Bye for now. Bye, Isabelle.
See you soon.
See you soon.